Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David and I've been searching the interzones for some more science, space and tech news to share with you. And I came across this at Science Alert. This should be interesting. Microplastics found in blood clots in heart, brain and legs. That's a bit disturbing, but still. Yes, let's find out what's going on. Now, earlier this year, we got news from a landmark study that microplastics, tiny shards of plastic shed from larger chunks, have been found inside more than 50% of fatty deposits from clogged arteries. It was the first data of its kind to draw a link between microplastics and their impact on human health. Yes, I wonder where these microplastics are coming from. This should be interesting. Now, a new study from researchers in China reports finding microplastics in blood clots surgically removed from arteries in the heart and brain and deep veins in the lower legs. Now, it's only a small study of 30 patients, not nearly as many as the 257 patients followed for 34 months in the arterial plaque study published in March. But similar to how the Italian-led team found the presence of microplastics in plaques raised people's subsequent risk of heart attack or stroke, the Chinese team found a potential association between the levels of microplastics in blood clots and disease severity. Anybody out there who is a medical person, because I'm not a medical-ologist, I can't even say the word. I feel like, when I pronounce any sort of scientific title, I feel like I'm having a Biden moment. But yeah, just let us know down in the comments because I'd love to hear from you. Now, the 30 patients involved in the study had surgery to remove blood clots after experiencing a stroke, heart attack, or deep vein thrombosis, a condition where clots form in deep veins, typically of the legs or pelvis. Now, aged 65 years old on average, the patients had various health histories and lifestyles, such as smoking, alcohol use, high blood pressure, or diabetes. They used plastic products daily and were roughly split between rural and urban areas. And as usual, I'll leave the link to the main article below the video, so you can pop in and check this little this 17-minute video out if you've got the time on microplastics, the hidden health crisis. Very interesting. Microplastics of various shapes and sizes were detected using chemical analysis techniques in 24 of the 30 blood clots studied at varying concentrations. Now, testing also identified the same types of plastics as those detected in the Italian-led study of arterial plaques, polyvinyl chloride, PVC, and polyethylene, PE. This isn't surprising, as PVC, often used in construction, and PE, primarily used in bottles and shopping bags, are two of the most commonly produced plastics. The new study also detected polyamide 66 in the clots, a common plastic used in fabric and textiles. Of the 15 types identified in the study, PE was the most common plastic, making up 54% of the particles analysed. Yes, so I should, that being the case when I'm drinking my diet soft drink, which is full of carcinogenics and killing me, I better stop drinking it from a plastic bottle. Good idea, yes. The researchers also found that people with higher levels of microplastics in their blood clots also had higher D-dimer levels than patients with no microplastics detected in thrombi. It being thrombosis, I'm assuming that is a plural version of. Excuse me. Now, D-dimer is a protein fragment released when blood clots break down. It's not normally present in blood plasma, so high D-dimer levels on a blood test can indicate the presence of blood clots, leading the researchers to suspect that microplastics might somehow be massing together in blood to make clotting worse. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting indeed. Yeah, so that means it's sort of building up in people's systems and over their lifetime, and yeah, fascinating. Something I never thought of. Again, anybody knows more about it, because I'm not a scientist, please feel free to comment down below. But more research is needed to investigate that this study didn't measure microplastics in patients' blood, and being an observational study can only point to possible links, not causes. Again, I just love all science, so any sort of biology or medical science or technology or astrophysics or geology. I just love all this stuff, anthropology. I'm just a big fan of all sciences. I have been since I was a kid, and I just love sharing these stories, and hopefully, we can get these around and people can start discussing them and we can all learn more as a community. It's really great. Now, these findings suggest that microplastics may serve as a potential risk factor associated with vascular health. Now, Ting Ting Wang, magnificent name by the way, very impressed with that one, a clinician scientist at the first affiliated hospital of Shantou University Medical College in China, and colleagues write in their paper, future research with a larger sample size is urgently needed to identify the sources of exposure and validate the observed trends in the study. Now, with microplastics previously detected in human lung tissue and blood samples, it's easy to imagine how these microscopic plastic pieces make their way from the environment to our bodies and blood clots if they form, even if scientists can't trace the pathway step by step as it happens. Now, a 2023 study previously detected the chemical fingerprints of microplastics in 16 surgically removed blood clots. Now we have a sense from Wang and team's work, which used infrared chemical imaging and other methods, of how concentrated those plastic particles can be in blood clots and their possible health effects. Yes, it just shows how fast this field is moving, from detecting microplastics in human tissues to studying their effects in cells and mice, to now elucidating the health impacts of microplastics on humans. Yes, it's like everything else, but then again, you can't... Every year there seems to be coming out something that's bad for us. Everything's bad for us. Smoking's bad for us. Drinking's bad for us. Now they're telling now we find out that microplastics, how do they get into our system? Is it from when you drink from a plastic bottle or eat from a plastic spoon? So as I made the joke before about, drinking my diet soft drink from a plastic bottle, so I'll change it to a, out of a glass bottle, just to make sure my health isn't affected. You could say, okay, I'm going to, not eat of fast food out of a paper, right? I'll start eating my fast food out of paper. It's still going to be bad for you. Everything's bad for you. Breathing's bad for you now. Living's bad for you now. It's getting to the point where we're not going to be able to, we're going to replace all this carcinogenic food that you're intaking with preservatives with something else that's healthy, like eat the bugs. And then in 20 or 30 years' time, we go, oh, that probably wasn't a good idea because there's something in the bugs that doesn't affect them, but when humans consume the bugs, it's carcinogenic. So this just fascinates me. But, as I keep saying, it just amazes me how everything is unhealthy for you. It just blows me away. Doesn't matter what you do. Now, the results couldn't come fast enough. Plastic production is only increasing, with fossil fuel companies ramping up their plastic output as their other business prospects crumble. Okay, that being the case, what are you going to replace plastics with? Anybody let me know down in the comments. Are we going to replace them with wood? That means you've got to go back to the tree farms again, like when I was a kid. When we were going through, we didn't cut down old growth forest for our trees. We literally had a farm in close to my, within an hour's drive, hour and a half's drive of my home. Now that farm was like, instead of having a farm that was an orchard and it was full of fruit, this was literally trees that were designed, they grew for a couple of years, we chopped them down, made paper out of them, right? Then you went back to, then you went to another area and you replanted them, grew them again for the next 2 to 5 years or however long it took. Are we going to go back to that again? I don't know. Tell me what we can replace this with. Is it going to be, we're going to use stainless steel? Whatever we replace it with, it's like, let's have an electric vehicle, right? Because it's better for the environment. No. Making an electric vehicle is not better for the environment in its construction, particularly the batteries. It pollutes the environment like crazy. Yet in order to manufacture the electric vehicle, half the time you've got to have a coal-fired power station. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, this is good. We've found microplastics in human tissues and human, blood and, whatever the case is. And they're saying replace it, but what with? We need something that's not going to affect us. But then do we find out in 20 or 30 years' time that it does? Love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now, due to the ubiquity of microplastics in the environment and everyday products, Human exposure to MPs is unavoidable, Wagon colleagues warn. Yes, I could often reword that to due to the ubiquity of politicians in the environment and everyday bullshit. Human exposure to members of parliament is unavoidable. Fascinating. Stop making jokes, David. It doesn't work. As such, microplastic pollutants have sparked growing concern due to their widespread presence and potential health implications. The study has been published in eBiomedicine. Again, great. We need to replace them, but what with? That's my concern. Interesting. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video because I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say,
I'll be back.